Alright guys, so we got the F-150 home and I want to go over all the issues I found so far. Number one, it was leaking some transmission fluid from the front here. Not any engine oil or anything like that, but it is leaking transmission out of the front from a hose or something. I checked out the transmission cooler lines. Doesn't seem to be those. They're not leaking, but you know, it happens only when it's running, after it's been running for a while. So I'm thinking it's probably the power steering, rack and pinion, something like that. It's really oily underneath. So right now as it sits, it's not leaking anything. But after the long drive home, I drove it for about an hour. It did produce a small stain on the driveway, real small. But it doesn't leak as it sits. So it's probably power steering. Doesn't look like it's coming from the trans cooler, but doesn't seem to be a big issue at the moment. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it as far as issues that I found so far. What I did find that is pretty cool is this keypad actually works to unlock the doors, which is nice. So if my guys or whatever ever get locked out, which is bound to happen, this keypad opens the door. So as you see, it's locked. See if I can remember the code. Boom, it's open. So that's pretty cool. It has a extra door here so you can store stuff behind the rear seats. Store things behind the rear seats. Had no issues on the way home with the drive. It cruised 70 miles an hour, no problem. Had to air up the tires. But I did have a misfire for a second when I was in the parking lot before I got on the highway. And it just kind of chugged for a second, maybe misfire one cylinder. And, you know, it only lasted for a second. And then after I kind of drove a little bit more, it went away. So I don't think anything's wrong. I talked to a mechanic friend of mine. He said it's probably just a coil or something. He said if it was something mechanical, internal, it would be more repeated, more repeatable. Being that it just happened for a second and went away, it's probably related to a coil boot or something simple like that. So hopefully that's not going to be an issue. It hasn't been an issue. Kind of just went away. Did it for a few seconds and went away. But the transmission worked good. Overdrive worked. Cruised the highway at 70 miles an hour. 75 I touched for a second, but didn't go too much faster than that. Still needs tires, but other than that, everything seems to be okay. I haven't really looked at the brakes, but I probably will go ahead and change the oil. It got dark already. I don't know what kind of oil they put in it. I mean, they probably put the cheapest oil possible in the motor. And as you see, it has the cheapest battery in the world. And when it gets real cold, it's probably going to have a hard time on startup with low-grade oil. Last thing I want to do is have a lot of clicking and knocking and things like that. But let's go ahead and do a cold start on this truck and see how it starts today. It hasn't been started all day. See how it sounds on startup. Now I've already checked the oil. It's pretty thick. It's getting kind of dark. Maybe it looked a lot cleaner the other day. It must have had an oil change on it with very little miles, and just driving home it darkened it up. So let's see how it sounds on a cold start. You know, it's a pretty chilly day today. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Hasn't been started all day. Now this will tell us the condition of the motor. Cold start, guys. Notice how much quieter the valve train is on the start. That's a good sign. Well, also too, the RPMs are a bit higher as well. See if it's idled down a little bit. Sounds really good on startup. Let's see here. We're not quite down in our RPMs yet. So once those RPMs drop, we'll see how it starts. I'm hoping that it sounds good. It sounds a little bit noisy when it's warm, but right now it sounds nice and strong. So let's let this thing warm up a bit. I had this here so I could get underneath the truck, but let it warm up a bit and see how it sounds in a few minutes once the idle kind of goes down a little bit. Alright guys, it's been running for like 5 minutes now. It's still cold. The coolant's not warm yet, but the idle down came from about 1,000 to about 900 or so RPM. So it's starting to idle down a little bit. Let's look how the engine sounds now. Still sounds pretty good. It really starts to make more noise once it gets really hot. So that's why I'm thinking of bumping up the viscosity on the oil. And honestly, checking this oil, looking at this oil, it's going to be interesting to see, because I think they already bumped the viscosity of the oil up, because it's definitely not 5W20. Just looking at it, it's so thick on this dipstick. 5W20 looks a lot thicker, or a lot thinner on the dipstick. So I wonder if the viscosity of the oil is already bumped up. I mean, when you look at the stick, it doesn't look like 5W20 oil. Let's pull the dipstick out and take a look. Here's a look at the dipstick, guys. They've probably already got, I don't know, I don't want to focus. They probably already have thicker oil here. This doesn't look like 5W20. It doesn't feel like 5W20. So I'm willing to bet it has like 10W30 in it already. No way of knowing. But the motor sounds really good, guys, when it's cold, which is part of the reason that I think when I first looked at it, I thought the motor sounded so good. Because as of right now, it sounds good. And over here, it sounds just the same. Once that oil gets hot, it starts to make a little noise. The idle quality goes down a bit. So I'm thinking I need to just put some really good oil in it, maybe 5W30, and see how it sounds from there. So anyway, guys, comment below. Tell me what you think. Did we find a good truck? Let me know. Anyway, hopefully all goes well with this. Hopefully everything's going well with you guys. And have a great day. Bye.